So we can go on with the presentations of the winners. The first one is by Dr. Andrea Natale. And Dr. Andrea Natale is the Executive Medical Director of the Texas Cardiac Arrhythmia Institute at St. David's Medical Center in Austin. He's not with us this evening because he had previously engaged, but he's abroad. But we have with us his wife, Mrs. Marina Natale, and one of his fellows, Dr. Lafazia. So he sent us a video message, and we will transmit now in order to learn something about the work of a cardiac electrophysiologist. That was the title of this image.
Buonasera, good evening. Let me say how sorry I am for missing such an exciting opportunity to be there with you all tonight. As many as my esteemed colleagues know, the life of a scientist, a researcher, is a series of long-planned commitments. I want to thank the Consul General, Dr. Lorenzini, and the scientific attaché, Antonella Inchiquitti, and all those that have organized such a rewarding initiative. I've always believed in the importance of education as the propeller to a better society and a better life. In my field and in medicine at large, education and research enable us to be able to take care of patients in the best way possible, since it is thanks to research that medicine advances and allows us all to enjoy a better health and a better life. I've dedicated my life to education and research, and I love to share it with colleagues, patients, and you all. So I'll try to go through what electrophysiology is, which is what I do, and is a subspecialty of cardiology that deal with the electrical system of the heart. And this is the system that allows the heart to beat. And obviously, when something goes wrong, there is misfiring that cause electrical problem that need to be treated in different way. We'll go over some of them. And my group has been sort of pioneering a variety of the treatment option that we offer to our patient and that we have developed over the last 25, 30 years. So this is an example of the normal heartbeat. It starts from the sinus node, which is a structure in the right upper chamber, and then through a specialized conduction system travel to the left in the bottom chamber. And you see there the ECG, the electrocardiogram, that show the upper chamber activity, the P wave, and the bottom chamber activity, the R wave. All of this is normal, but then things happen to people. So here you see, for example, somebody that is having chest pain, possibly a heart attack. Heart attack cause damage to the bottom chamber of the heart that can cause a variety of problems that require different treatment, from implantable device that can be a pacemaker, a defibrillator, but sometimes those rapid heartbeats either don't respond to medical management, or now that the therapy has evolved and is mature into a successful option, then they are treated with another procedure called catheter ablation. So here you see, for example, a patient that because of a heart attack has developed ventricular tachycardia, which is a rapid heartbeat from the bottom chamber. And obviously a defibrillator in this patient is important, an implantable defibrillator. But when they continue to have recurrent arrhythmia, then the best option to make things stable is to consider catheter ablation, which is a procedure that used to be done surgically, as you see here, the old days, obviously with the much higher rate of mortality and morbidity. And today, instead, is done with catheters And here an example of one of our paper where we describe one of the treatment option for this type of arrhythmia, where you see we target the scar to eliminate these bridges of tissue that can cause arrhythmia. And by doing that, we are able to eliminate, in most patients, recurrent arrhythmia, and also in many of them to stop antiarrhythmic drugs, which over time can be potentially toxic. So here you see another very important problem we deal with, atrial fibrillation. This is probably a true epidemic of cardiovascular medicine. Affect 1 out of 4 people above the age of 50. And here you see some statistics, certainly more prevalent in the Western world, but because of higher prevalence of metabolic syndrome, but also because there is more attention, more diagnostic tool. So the difference could be driven also by a better quality of care. As I mentioned, now one of the best treatment option beside medication is catheter ablation. Is a procedure that require specific skill, including transseptal access, and obviously understanding of the recording, so that we can identify all the areas that potentially can be responsible for this arrhythmia. We do use multiple electrode catheter, as you see here, so catheter that record from different area of the heart and allow us with a single bit to try to regionalize the area of interest. And we combine that with the three-dimensional mapping system where we see, as you see here, we create the three-dimensional geometry of the chamber with the activation time that is color-coded. So red is early, purple is late. And here you see another example of a left upper chamber with the area in red that were targeted to treat this patient with atrial fibrillation. Cardiac ablation is done with a variety of energy sources. We like radiofrequency energy because it's more flexible, but cryoablation is also available in a device that is designed to address primarily the pulmonary vein. And now we're testing pulse field ablation in FDA IDE, which certainly is going to be the future because it's a safer energy sources. Again, here you see example of the 3 approaches. They all target the same area, but clearly pulse field ablation is going to become the predominant approach because of the safety profile. Radiofrequency energy offer as a benefit the flexibility of targeting any area that you need to, but it's certainly more operator and skill dependent. Cryo is less operator skill dependent, but is coming a device that can address almost exclusively the pulmonary vein. Here are some example of early paper. I started doing this in the late 90s, and this is some early study that we published in 2000. And here you see 1999. Why atrial fibrillation is important? Well, certainly the number one reason is because of influence people quality of life, cause palpitation, shortness of breath, fatigue, but also is an arrhythmia that can cause higher risk of stroke and heart failure. So if not properly treated, they have a significant impact in patient quality of life and life expectancy also. Beyond treating the arrhythmia, to reduce the risk of stroke, which come from clot that develop in a pocket of the left upper chamber called left atrial appendage. We now use device to close this structure, so that we have to worry less about clot forming there and then moving into the bloodstream and causing stroke or thromboembolic event. This is an example of one of these devices that we've been involved in developing and in testing in patients. Obviously, this field is moving, and as I mentioned before, the way with the development are moving in different direction. One, devices that are safer and less operator dependent. So I showed you before the pulse field ablation. This is another example of robotic magnetic navigation, and also procedures that are more effective in doing what you're doing. Radiation therapy is a sort of a bailout approach these days for cases where either because the patient is too sick or because we cannot reach those areas, we rely on targeting specific area with radiation, as we have done for many years with cancer. We also have better tool to monitor patients, and they come in a variety of wearables that are available to all of us in the form of Apple Watch or a specific software that can be combined to the iPhone. And all of this now is being interfaced with artificial intelligence software to reduce the need of overreading, which is not insignificant, when you have thousands of patients that use these devices. So I'll stop here, saying that as we dwell deeper into the mystery of the heart, every discovery, every breakthrough is a testament to human ingenuity in our ceaseless pursuit of life, harmonious rhythm. And this is what I like to say in my patient, that the goal of my life is to restore the music of sinus rhythm. Thank you very much.
We thank a lot to Dr. Natale for his very interesting presentation. And now we continue with Marzia Conte. Marzia is preparing her PhD in the Houston Methodist Research Institute. She presented Heart Attack.
So, good evening, everybody. My name is Marzia Conte, and I want you to do a slightly different presentation than those that I usually do for scientific occasions, so I just hope you like it. So, let's start with something about myself. I was born in Sicily in 1996, and I was raised with love by my family until 2014. In 2014, I moved to Turin in Piedmont, and I earned both my bachelor and master's degree in biomedical engineering, and I met some of my best friends. In 2020, I joined Professor Valentina Cauda's TNH lab, and I was so fascinated by research that I decided to become a PhD student, and I started my PhD course the following year. Then, last December, I did a slightly longer jump, and I came here to Texas for my abroad period. And I'm currently working at the Houston Methodist Research Institute in the Grattoni lab. So I wanted to thank Professor Grattoni for the opportunity he gave me to work in his lab. Without too much jargon, I just wanted to briefly present my PhD project. So the final and very ambitious goal is defeating pancreatic cancer. To do so, I'm employing zinc oxide nanoparticles. Nanoparticles are small particles that range from 1 to 10 to 100 nanometers in size. And just to give you an idea of the size, a human hair is 60,000 nanometers thick. To improve their stability in biological systems, I developed this lipidic shell inspired by COVID-19 vaccines, which we all know and hopefully we all got in the last few years. And my nanoparticles are per se safe, but to activate them, I'm currently using a CE and FDA approved device, which is usually used for muscle pain relief, which emit ultrasounds. This ultrasound stimulation has the effect of letting cancer cells die just because they generate reactive oxygen species, so they basically die of stress. Here at the Houston Methodist Research Institute, I had the huge opportunity to use innovative technologies and very expensive instrumentation that I couldn't find in Italy, of course, and also to translate in vivo my research. So not only on cells seeded in plates, but on actual living beings.
Speak in the microphone. They
Yeah,
don't
sure.
hear you in the back.
Like this? Is it better?
Yeah, close.
Okay. So I could apply my research in living beings, in this case mice. I will just give you a couple of examples of the results I could get here. Like on the left, you can see the way my nanoparticle look. Like I would always draw these tiny schemes on Excel and imagine my nanoparticles as this, lipidic shell with tiny dots inside, and I could actually see them thanks to the facility at Baylor and the cryo-temp imaging. While the other one is a sequential scan, I'm sorry, but the light doesn't help, in which you can appreciate the internalization of my nanoparticles inside cells. So you can see in different colors, not only the cell structures, but also the nanoparticles inside. So these results were the kinds of results I came here for, but today I wanted to focus on something completely different. So to do so, I need to go back to the MIRABILIS contest. This is the picture I presented, and I called it heart attack, and this is the description I made. So I took it 3 years ago during my master thesis, and it was like 8 p.m. I was in the lab, and I was doing this colocalization study. So the green and the red should be perfectly colocalized. As you can see, this is a very bad quality image because that day the microscope was broken and I didn't know. And you can see also some little drops like condense, so they had to fix it and had to repeat the experiment all over again. So as a strong and independent woman, I had just 2 reactions that day. First, I cried. Second, since it was kind of cute because I could see a heart in it, I just sent the picture to my mom because I knew that she would see just one thing. So she replied, "That's a cute heart, how did you make it?" And then, since it's my mom, she didn't make a big deal out of it. So the heart became the theme of the favors of my master degree. So I just played along at that point, and it became the background of my master thesis too. So the heart attack means so much to me because I could find joy and the passion for my job even on a very bad day, because that one was a really bad day. And in that moment I realized that if I had to choose 2 words to describe my research path, I would choose this one: heart and failure, as the driving forces of my research. So this is heart, like my family, my boyfriend, all the wonderful moments I lived during my childhood and during the years that brought me here and made me love the life I had before. And this is the fear of failure. Failure and the fear of failure. So all these emotions, I feel them like every single day. I just wanted to add some that are more focused on research, because I believe that failure is an intrinsic part of research. So we experience it every day. We never mention so many experiments that just don't go well, because in publication we want to see the good results, those that can make us win grants, just not to eat. And, but we never talk about all the experiments that we do every single day, the repetitive one that just don't go well and make us feel that like we're sort of failing. And to this, I wanted to add, like, for example, all the machine that breaks down the moment we need them, or, for example, knowing that you are working on a protocol that took us like weeks, and on a single day, if you make an error, you have to start all over again. Or just the fear of, disappointing the expectation of other people, of your PI or yourself too. And last but not least, the majority of scientists I know are immigrants like me. So there's also all the immigration issue, like the onboarding processes and the back and forth from our country of origin and America, that makes us feel so not stable, like that everything that we do on a daily basis, like we can just lose it because our visa is not renewed or something like that. So at least once a day, I have this exact college in my mind. So I think about my family, I think how far I am from them, and about all the moment that I'm losing right now because I'm here studying, doing research, and I'm not with them. And I think, and I say out loud, what am I giving up? And for what? To produce data, to follow a dream. But sometimes I even wonder and ask myself, what is this dream really about? You know, and finding the balance between these means accepting that you're going to lose so much to follow something that maybe you will never succeed in because you feel like a tiny drop in an ocean of really important scientists who are really making the difference, while today I measured 50 tumors of 50 different mice and I do it every other day and it seems that it's not going anywhere, So finding this balance, it's an everyday challenge. So when I need to find a motivation, I think about them. Sorry. So I think about my family and I think about how huge the opportunity of being here is for me because I come from a very humble family and I know that a lot of people made so much effort to have me here. My great-grandmother couldn't even write, but she was like one of the first women to have a job on her own because she was a baker in a little village in Messina. And she was so happy and proud to be able to provide for her family. My great-grandfather would recite poems in Sicilian dialect because he didn't know Italian. My grandmother is one of the strongest person I know, and she's always pushing me far away from her to do my best. My parents, they just raised me and then say hello to me, goodbye to me when I was 18. My grandfather, he used to watch a documentary on TV, and he would see these people with a helmet and a badge on their chest with the word engineer in it. And he once asked me, are you going to become an engineer? Are you studying to become an engineer? What is an engineer? And so I did not even just take my bachelor master's degree. I wanted to pass the professional exam to have the engineering title, just to tell him, like, yes, I'm an engineer, because I wanted to be an engineer for him. So this is my timeless motivation. But as soon as I arrived in America, I also realized that I needed to find something here to hold on to wake up every morning. So I also realized that looking for and finding a new piece of art everywhere I go is really the key to do my job and to live every single moment I give value to it. Because people is all we've got, and loving them never makes me afraid of failure. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Marzia. Your experience is the experience of every scientist. We learn from our failure. Sometimes we win, but in any case, we always learn. So thank you very much, and good luck for your brilliant future. I'm sure of it. So the last presentation is from Professor Maria Beatrice Magnani. She is a seismologist, and she works at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. She presented the picture Southern Patagonia Icefield, Uppsala Glacier, that also was the most voted image by the school.
I promise I won't make you cry. And it's interesting that the Patagonia experiment that, I don't need that, thank you, that gave rise to this picture was also the results of a failure. So, okay, let me see here. So thank you everybody for being here, and thank you for this beautiful initiative. I think for us scientists, being able to communicate our science is probably one of the most challenging and most important things we can do, because we often sit with our colleagues in our labs and we speak our language, and we think everybody understands us, and that's not true. So being able to train and communicate our science to the public is as important as being able to do the science itself. So thank you. This is really important. So I'm a seismologist. I'm an earth scientist, and I study continents. Those are my first love. And as I show you today, I moved later into studying the oceans. But the main topic here is to watch how our planet evolves. And I do so, if you are an earth scientist, this could be your office. This is us navigating up on the Uppsala fjord or Brussels in Patagonia, looking at how Uppsala glacier is losing ice at very aggressive rates in the last 50 years due to the changing climate, and is releasing these enormous icebergs. And as they navigate downhill and downstream to then impact navigation. And this glacier, for example, is 1 kilometer wide almost. So this is some of the students in my group at SMU. My students and I are studying how continents evolve, form, and deform. And so we are doing so. And today I'm going to talk to you about some of the themes that we investigate. And we talk about the formation and evolution and deformation and dynamics of the continental lithosphere. Why is that important? Because we live on it, right? We actually extract all our energy sources from it. The water that we drink comes from our continental lithosphere. And also we are affected by how the continents deform. Earthquakes happen on continental lithosphere and they affect us. I am from Umbria, from Spoleto. So the 2016 seismic sequence affected my parents, affected everybody I love. And so seismic hazard is really important to me. But also landslides. Italy is a very young landscape and is affected by all this hazard. Hydro hazard is also another problem. So these are important to us, and understanding how continents evolve and deform is really important for us that live on them. And so this is actually all the natural hazard, and also the hazard that we are generating ourselves. And we'll talk about how we're approaching this in Texas as we are developing new technique to extract gas and oil from the subsurface. And in the process, we might be releasing tectonic forces by reactivating old faults. And then I want to show you some of the work that we do by imaging the oceans, by using the same technique that we use to image the subsurface by applying them to the water in the oceans. Okay, so in all this is the underlining topic here is that I use one single method, and is an imaging method. And the imaging method is seismology. So we use seismology to image the Earth. We use seismic waves, and the particular seismic waves that we use is seismic wave that I generate myself. So pretty much like an ultrasound, right? So we've heard doctors here, people that are involved in medicine. We've all experienced the ultrasound that explores by the sound of sound waves that penetrate our body, and we look at the response of the different tissues with different densities into our body. That's exactly how we use similar waves, acoustic waves, to propagate inside the planet and then be reflected and refracted at different layers with different density contrast, and these waves come back to us, and by looking at the time and the amplitude they have, we can reconstruct the structure of the subsurface. And so we can use it, as you see here, like an ultrasound, and like an ultrasound, we can actually do it also in 3D. So we can have a subsurface image in 3D of the layers and study how these layers have evolved through time, and also extract the information of these layers. For example, do they contain water? Do they contain gas? Are they faulted? Do these faults have been active recently, or have they stopped in the past? And can we build the architecture of the strata in the subsurface? And this is exactly what we, in our group, we do. And one of the areas that we can apply this imaging problem is, for example, in Patagonia. Patagonia is a place that has been experiencing aggressive ice retreat recently in the last 50 years. And today, the southern Patagonia ice field, which is the southernmost of those ice fields that you see on the left, is the remnant of the largest ice sheet that was covering the entire Andes during the Pleistocene about 21,000 years ago. And this is Perito Moreno, one of the largest glaciers, and you see that is the front of the glacier and is losing ice on the Canale de los Témpanos. And so what we're doing there, we went down there and on a very challenging expedition, which had many failures, but ended up being a very successful expedition. And what we did, we are imaging the sediments that are released by the ice as it retreats and readvances. And the ice that readvanced and was retreating in the past, and the sediments that it left behind, because these are the only things that we are left from the advance and retreat of the ice in the past. And so this is an image of the past ice. This is a valley glacier that the glacier has excavated, and all these layers that you see are the sediments that were left as the ice advanced over this valley and retreated about 13,000 years ago. And so by studying these ice in the past, we can actually see how the ice in the past, the glacier in the past, reacted or responded to past changes in temperature and precipitation, so that we can actually project and understand how a change in temperature and precipitation today might affect our ice sheets today. And so this is how we're using this information, and we're helping the people that make prediction in climate adjust their prediction. Other ways in which we use our understanding and imaging of the subsurface is to try to understand how hidden faults in the subsurface can be reactivated. So we're trying to discriminate, and this is by the use of, for example, of injection of wastewater in the subsurface, like it happened in our basin, in the Permian Basin, for example, in West Texas, or under Dallas in the Irving and in the Dallas-Fort Worth Basin. So there, this injection is reactivating all faults. And so we're trying to discriminate the earthquakes that are generated by this anthropogenic activity from the one that instead are normally activated by tectonics. And so here we've been working with my team and the team at SMU to try to discriminate this activity. And what I'm showing you here is this increase. What you're seeing here, this is at the bottom here, is the 8 years of since 1973 all the way to 2015. And what you're seeing here is the number of earthquakes. And what you're seeing is that the rate has been constant until we hit 2008. And that rate increases dramatically in 2008. And the color of that increase is color-coded on that map. And you see that the increase in seismicity is happening in different regions and in different times. So that means that different regions and different basins are affected for the first time when there was no seismicity before, for example, in Oklahoma or in the Dallas-Fort Worth Basin. And some regions instead continue to have the normal activity, like, for example, in the Mississippi embayment. And so we studied those regions, and we tried to attribute this activity in seismic events and to industry practices versus normal tectonic activity. And then finally, another way, so these are all, this is how we use this imaging of the subsurface below the ground. But we can also use this imaging to study the oceans. And so what I'm showing you here, and let's see if I can actually show you the video. Okay, so what you're seeing here, this is an image from a satellite that shows, you see the east coast of North America. What you're seeing there is the Gulf Stream that moves along the coast and brings the heat from the Gulf of Mexico, along the east coast, and then all the way to Europe. So what that image shows is the circulation of the ocean as seen from the surface, as seen from a satellite. That shows the sea surface temperature and sea surface circulation. We know very well this information because we can observe it with satellite. We know instead very little about this distribution of currents goes and is represented in the subsurface, in the interior of the oceans. And this is very important because it is exactly this transportation of heat and nutrients that modulates our climate. It is transportation of heat throughout the oceans that moderates whether we have cold or warm weather in climate in Europe, for example. So we've been trying to understand, see if I can advance this, how to use our imaging technique to understand the circulation in the deep ocean. And so, let's see if I can advance. And so my student and I have been studying, for example, one region in the Caribbean. What you're seeing there is the Caribbean region and the Caribbean current that comes from the edges of South America and enters the Caribbean basin. And we've been able to map, as you see, this is one of the sections, we've been able to map these reflectors within the ocean. And each of these reflections represent a changes in temperature and salinity that defines the changes in density. And that is that mixing of the ocean as mapped as we go deep into the ocean. And so we're not just able to describe the structure of those mixing processes, but we're able to quantify how much the ocean is mixing. And so my student has been able to quantify the diffusivity of the mixing process by using seismic reflection data and mapping that diffusivity associated with each of these reflections. And so this is very important because we're trying to understand where the heat is stored within the ocean and whether we're losing it as a process of changing climate. So these are, again, we are actually moving in each of these topics that I've described you. We are studying, continue to study induced seismicity and try to understand, the controls of the earthquakes in induced operations. And we are trying to move, for example, in Patagonia, we're moving now to understand what controls the structure and the reconstructing the paleo history of earthquakes in the Patagonia region. And then in the ocean mixing, we're moving into quantifying the ocean properties and the energy and the heat storage. And if you want to know more, just come up to Dallas and study Earth science with us. Thank you.
I would say to all of you, thank you for opening window and your everyday life as a scientist. It was very interesting. For you to have a glimpse of what you do, the important things you do every day, and also of your emotions. Thank you to Marcia for sharing with us the story of the heart that was very emotional. So thank you very much for being here tonight and for your presentations and for participating to Mirabilis with your beautiful pictures. So I don't have an order, but I would say Andrea Natale.
Which of course I'm not.
Which is not here. Give recognition to his wife, lovely wife that is here tonight with us. Marzia Conte, thank you very much for being here for your very emotional presentation. Hold on, keep it up. Science is important. Family is important, but science is important. And Maria Beatrice Magnani, thank you very much. The presentation about the iceberg was really interesting. But what's going to happen with that augmentation of
well, we need to mitigate that.
What's going to happen, further on?
It is slowing down.
It's worrying.
Yes, it is.
And Dr. Damiano Redemani, thank you very much for your work, for made the project possible. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
The Chamber of Commerce I prepared some presents
Right, yes.
for you. We are very kind. A special surprise from the scientific attaché, because it is my personal thank you for your participation in this. I find it useful in the life to have a reference. So this is for Dr. Natale. The initials, they are engraved with the MIRABILIS name and also the...
He should have never left.
Grazie. And also this is Beatrice. And Damiano.
Oh,
Thank you.